Say you had $1,000 today and you had to allocate it. How would you invest that? Before you even get started, let me up that number. Make it 50,000. How would you invest it? And you probably already know that treating all monies the same is like using a teaspoon to bail a boat, where long pipes are needed and you probably need to get the entire waterwork to get you in it. But if you're using a teaspoon, you're gambling, you're probably praying. It may work, but for the most part, it doesn't make a lot of logical sense. Today, we're going to talk about allocating money at different levels with just one goal in mind: stability, optionality before growth. Again, that stability, you want to make sure that you have options, optionality, and then growing your money. But before we go ahead, if you're new here, my name is Desayo. I'm a Harvard-trained ex-Wall Street professional helping real people take control of their money. All right, let's jump right in. Okay, before we jump into the numbers, which is what you're probably waiting for, let's establish something. I have a framework that I use, and it is that money has 3 jobs. The first one, like I mentioned, is stability. That is the money that you need before your life falls apart. You do not want your life falling apart and you trying to piece it together, but you're investing. So stability is the money that you need to prevent your life from falling apart. Everything that kind of has to glue together to cushion your life. That's stability. Optionality is your VEX money, the money that you need to buy options, to buy choices, to be able to do the things that you want to do when you want to do them. That's optionality. The third thing is growth. Of course, we all want growth, and that's money that increases over the long term. You want to make sure that you are seeding your money, you're putting your money where it can grow, and hopefully, eventually, you reap some long-term benefits. That order matters. And the reason is, if you are chasing optionality without stability, that's stress in disguise. And if you're chasing growth without stability and optionality, that's just a fragile life. Anything happens and you're gone. So super important that we establish that framework and we know exactly what we're jumping into. All right, level 1. Talk about $1,000 to $3,000. That money is for stability and peace. No arguments, no discussions, peace. And peace cannot be overrated. You want to make sure that if anything happens to you at any level, this your first $1,000 to $3,000 is to just keep stress away. Super crucial. This is non-negotiable. It is not for bragging rights. It is for peace. This is the money that absorbs any friction. It also helps you solve small problems. You have a flat tire, something went bad in your house, you need to eat something right now, you need to hit the doctor, you need to go to the ER, whatever that looks like. And if you're a mom or if you're a dad, you have kids, your kids need something as a matter of immediate alacrity, you have that access. Stop small problems from becoming bigger. How can you save this cash? Where can it live? It can live in cash. You can literally just have it in your checking account. Although I don't prescribe to that. I think you can actually have that money in a high yield savings account somewhere that is active, is quick to get. Call it your emergency fund, your emergency savings. That's level 1. Like I said, maybe something that bears some better level of interest, but you're not optimizing for growth. You're not optimizing for some get rich quick. Like if I double this money or if I put this here and if I buy options, maybe the options will give me 100% return. That is not what this money is for. This money is for your blood pressure to be cool and calm and stable. Okay? I mean, if your nervous system is under immense pressure and stress, your portfolio strategy, it means absolutely nothing. So let's make sure that we know that this money is especially to buy our peace. Peace compounds, and your nervous system, arguably your health, that is one of your greatest assets, if not your greatest asset. I remember when I first started working and I got my first my little stash of cash, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I know this is not a lot of money, but I'm done with school now. I can start putting 1 or 2 pennies together. Fantastic. I knew that this could at least like alleviate all the stresses that I had to go through as a student. And I really liked it. It really meant a lot more to me than just a bonus. I mean, a bonus would be great, really. But my point is, I loved having just a little bit of savings stashed somewhere that I could use, of course, when important, not because I wanted to buy ice cream. We're going to move to level 2. Now, let's say you have about $5,000 to about $15,000, something that's becoming a bit more material, something that, and you already saved away your emergency funds, your first set of pennies put together. Now you're like, you know what? I have something tucked away. I have about $3,000 to $5,000 tucked away. Now I have my next 5 to 15K. What do I do? Yes. Now we're balancing optionality and stability. The first step that we mentioned was stability. Fantastic. You have that locked down. You're good. Now, this money is the money that begins to open doors for you. This is the money that you begin to deploy in a way that's meaningful, in a way that it can return back to you, whether qualitatively or quantitatively. Now you're thinking of things like, is this where I get my next professional certification? Am I trying to get my CFA? Am I trying to get my Series 66? Am I trying to get my PMP? Am I trying to get a skill that I need? Am I trying to learn how to do X? Maybe you're a handy person. You want to learn how to do HVACs, for instance. You want to learn plumbing. I mean, because you're blue collar doesn't mean that you can't learn all these other things, because you are going to eventually live in a house. If you're not already living in a house, the goal is for us to all grow and you get your own place. And trust me, those things can come in super, super handy. So this money is money that you use for upskilling yourself, or maybe even starting a side hustle, or maybe even getting yourself into some type of opportunities, small investment that does not lock you out for the long haul, that you can get in a bit, get your feet wet, see what's going on. But I would highly recommend that you use this money, these funds, to sort of invest in yourself, whether it's through certifications, whether it's through you starting like a little side hustle, if that's your thing, whether it's you figuring out a way to grow that money. And if you feel like all of these things are already settled, then you can start dabbling into some type of investment. It could be you going into real estate, depending on what you have at your disposal and how much guidance you have. Super crucial how much guidance you have. Or it could be you getting into the stock market. Get into the stock market, you can decide, all right, I'm just learning. I've been taking in a lot of content. I'm listening to this aisle. I want to get my feet wet. What does that look like? Maybe you start with ETF. You can start with just a little bit of money, getting into it, understanding the market, understanding the drivers of the market, feeling like maybe this can become comfortable for me. Testing and assessing your own risk profile, your risk appetite, all of those things. This is where that money can begin to open those doors for you. That optionality then begins to come to life. Okay, I can play a little bit here, I can play a little bit there. So optionality here is really about your life architecture. You want to make sure that you have something like, what if life throws me a curveball? Can I survive? Can I, survive the next 6 months if I lost my job, for instance? If I begin to feel pressured, do I feel like I have an outlet somewhere else? Do I have a talent that I want to sort of grow? Now I'm not looking for my daily 2K or my daily income, but I want to take my life to the next level. That is what this optionality begins to open up for you. This is not really about maximizing returns. It's about helping you feel less and less boxed in, because life that gives you option, money that gives you option, money that gives your life options is so much sexier than some outstanding performance on paper that maybe you don't even have access to. Okay, now let's move to the 50K to 100K band. Yeah, this is good money. Now you're talking about having some level of not just stability. We already took care of that. Now you're thinking about optionality and growth, because now you have material money sitting with you and you're thinking, okay, I have this money now, and this money should behave differently. Your expectation of that money should be different from your expectation of your $1,000 to $3,000 stack. Do you understand? And of course, different from your 5K to 15K stack. This money is supposed to buy you structural freedom, not just returns. How can I begin to reshape my life? Where am I going to? What does my future look like? Now that I'm sitting on this very cush, nice stack of cash, where does that take me? We're thinking If you want to jump into real estate, this amount of money can, whether it's help you buy your own house, you can definitely begin to have those conversations, whether it's you starting or buying a business that's already revenue generating, that's already making profit. Maybe look for someone who's tired of operating their business, not because the business is bad, but because maybe they've been in the business for such a long time. And I've heard so many incredible stories about seller financing in this kind of category where the owners of the business are just exhausted and maybe they're old and maybe they're retiring or looking to retire. And you take it on, you're young, you're vibrant, you're energetic, and you can take it to the next level, maybe even open up more income streams for that business. And, also get in bed with them, figure out how, all right, if we do something creative, I have a little bit of staff, meaning that I can pay for this business. But since you're trying to get out of this business, what if I structure something interesting with you? What if I do something like, I will take over this business for the next 12 months, I will pay you X amount in income. And then after that, after I pay you, say, $5,000, of course, I don't know the numbers of this hypothetical business, but assuming you're able to pull out 5K in cash profit from that business monthly, I would give that to the owner. And on top of that, I will start paying you for the business. Maybe it then comes to about $8,000 a month. And you structure that over the life of the loan, of that business. And then you begin to get creative as to how you take over and get into that business and thinking about, how can I increase revenue in this business? How can I increase profit? How do I make this thing better? Or maybe get an SBA loan, small business administration loan. I know that a lot of people have actually used that to start their own, I wouldn't even call it a side hustle. Really, at that point, it's a business. And you're going into it. I know they do some very interesting interest rates. And, that could be an outlet for you. And if you feel like, look, I'm already super busy at work, I don't have energy to do all of that, I just want my money to work for me, not me working for my money. Okay, you could still get in the market. The markets are the easiest in terms of actual physical stress way to begin to participate and look for some type of optionality for your money. Now, I don't mean easy as per you're not going to do anything. If anybody promises you that don't even listen to them. They're light. You want to make sure that as you're getting into the market, you're doing your research. You're listening to earnings calls. You're understanding what people are talking about. Where's the psychology? Where are people thinking about? Where's the herd? Where are people going? What are the people that do this, live, breathe, and think about these businesses? What are they thinking? You're thinking about, analyst position, how analyst rating this. How do I read evaluation statement? How do I read a K2 or whatever the case is? You want to make sure that you're also doing your homework because you don't want to throw your money into the market because, of course, there are risks to doing that as well. This is where this liquidity is what makes you move without panic. What lets you pivot without thinking about, oh my goodness, I need this money today, I need this money tomorrow. Optionality here is not really just about maximizing returns. It's about choosing wisely. It's about avoiding forced decisions like, oh my God, a distressed sale, or oh my goodness, I need this money tomorrow, and so I have to liquidate my asset. And of course, all the options that I have elucidated here, I know it's not relevant to everyone. Okay. I know not everyone can take advantage. I'm just giving you ideas of what you begin to do with monstrous money that you have at this point. Okay. There are several things that you can do, and you want to make sure that you're also doing what is best for you, what is right for you. Okay. What your career path is. What matters here is structure. We want to make sure that you're not looking for this money back on somebody else's timeline. That liquidity is super, super important. And flexibility ages very well. I'll tell you, being flexible, being able to say, this is what I want today and I can afford what I want, it ages really well. I also want to put it out there that I know that $50,000 or $100,000 does not look the same if you lived in, say, Shreveport, Louisiana, or somewhere in Tennessee, for instance. $50,000 to $100,000 would be quite sizable. But if you lived in LA, if you lived in New York, maybe not so much. So there's also the location piece of things. It can get very dynamic. And of course, this is to your own context, to where you are in life and location wise as well. And here's the thing that most people miss. Wealth isn't always about chasing the perfect returns. It's not always about maximizing your ROI or whatever it's called. Wealth is really about creating a position where you're not forced into bad decisions. You're not forced into a sale where you're buying high and selling low because you're under pressure. Wealth and this level of liquidity, this optionality that we speak of, buys patience. And patience is a fantastic asset when it comes to building wealth, especially building wealth. It's an underpriced asset in finance. That's what we're talking about. The option to wait, the option to just forget about it and go away for a very long time and not need it. That's what actually lets your seed in the ground grow. We've talked a lot. We've said so many things. And I know that money can work for you in several different ways. What have you found in your journey of life? How has money worked for you, or how have you made money work for you? I really want to hear your thoughts as well. So share down in the comment. Let's talk about it. What have you done that has worked for you? Maybe somebody else in our community will learn from you. If you don't take away anything from our conversation today, remember 3 things. Small money stabilizes your money, that gives you as much stability as you desire. Mid money gives you options, choices, the ability to begin to flex. What can I do? How can I improve myself? Mid money gives you that. And upper money, that structures your freedom. That you then begin to take a step back and say, what can life do for me? I have this now. How can I make it work? You want system over hype, optionality over anxiety, optionality over anxiety, and you want peace over chasing returns. Peace cannot be overrated. All right, if this is the kind of content that you like, listening to what we do with our money, how we distress, how we make our money distress for us, well, join me on this journey, join me on this ride, and subscribe to my YouTube channel because I will be bringing you a lot of good content on this topic. And I'll see you again next time.